The housekeeper, Pauline, arrived for work as usual. 715 Ursulines Street, a grand old house steeped in the history of the French Quarter. She climbed the stairs, her heart heavy with a premonition. The air hung thick with a cloying metallic scent. Pauline pushed open the door to the attic room. Her scream echoed through the house. 2 steamer trunks, large, heavy, and emanating that same sickening odour. Pauline fumbled for the latch of the first trunk. Inside, a scene that defied comprehension. Body parts, dismembered, mutilated. The stench was overpowering. Panic seized her. She stumbled back, the screams catching in her throat. The second trunk, another gruesome discovery, more remains. The horror was unfathomable. Pauline, in a daze, raced to the authorities. The police arrived to a scene unlike any they had witnessed. The French Quarter, known for its vibrant life and dark secrets, had yielded a horror story that would forever stain its cobblestone streets. The trunk murders had begun. The detectives surveyed the scene, their faces grim, the trunks, the dismembered bodies, the sheer brutality of it all. This was not just murder, it was rage unleashed. Piece by piece, they began the grisly task of identifying the victims. Teresa Moiti, the wife of Henry Moiti, was the first to be identified. Her body, savagely butchered, bore testament to the killer's fury. Leonide Loni Moiti, Teresa's sister-in-law, was the second victim. Her remains, equally mutilated, lay alongside Teresa's. The method of murder was brutal, personal. A lead club, wielded with terrifying force. A cane knife, used to dismember the bodies with chilling precision. Teresa's fingers had been severed. Her wedding ring, a symbol of a bond now violently severed, was found embedded in a wound on her back. It was a detail, small yet significant, that spoke volumes about the killer's motives. The police knew they were dealing with someone consumed by jealousy, by a rage that knew no bounds. Henry Moiti, a name whispered in hushed tones throughout the French Quarter. He was a man known to be possessive, prone to fits of jealous anger. His marriage to Teresa had been tumultuous, plagued by accusations of infidelity on both sides. But Henry's jealousy ran deeper than a husband's wounded pride. It was an all-consuming beast, fueled by alcohol and a deep-seated insecurity. Teresa had threatened to leave him, to take her children and escape his suffocating control. She had even spoken of resorting to prostitution to support herself and her children. For Henry, this was the ultimate betrayal. His pride, already wounded, could not withstand this final blow. He would be left alone, destitute, a failure in the eyes of the world. The financial strain on the family was immense. Teresa and Loni, both skilled seamstresses, struggled to make ends meet. Henry, prone to bouts of unemployment, contributed little to the household. His drinking worsened, fueling his paranoia and rage. In his mind, Teresa and Loni were conspiring against him, seeking to escape his control and leave him with nothing. The Moiti household at 715 Ursuline Street was a cauldron of simmering resentments and hidden truths. Joseph Moiti, Loni's husband, had recently separated from her but continued to live under the same roof. The air was thick with tension, the unspoken accusations hanging heavy between them. Teresa, trapped in a loveless marriage with a man she both feared and resented, sought solace in the arms of another man, Joseph Caruso. Caruso, a dock worker, offered her an escape, however fleeting, from the misery of her life. Their affair was no secret within the confines of 715 Ursuline Street. It was a dangerous game they played, one that fanned the flames of Henry's jealousy to an inferno. The weight of their financial struggles pressed down upon them. Each day was a struggle to survive, to keep a roof over their heads and food on the table. The women toiled tirelessly, their needles flashing, as they sewed garments for wealthy patrons who remained oblivious to their plight. Henry, meanwhile, sought solace in the bottom of a bottle, his dreams of a better life drowning in cheap whiskey. News of the gruesome discovery at 715 Ursuline Street spread like wildfire through the French Quarter. Henry Moiti, the jealous husband, became the immediate suspect. He had vanished from the scene, his disappearance only solidifying his guilt in the eyes of the law. A manhunt ensued, the largest in New Orleans history. Detectives fanned out across the city, following every lead, every whisper of information that might lead them to the fugitive. Days turned into nights as the search intensified. The newspapers ran daily updates, fueling the public's morbid fascination with the case. Henry Moiti became a bogeyman, his name whispered in hushed tones by mothers putting their children to bed. 3 days after the discovery of the bodies, a break in the case. A tip led the authorities to Bayou La Fourche, a sprawling network of waterways south of New Orleans. There, hiding amongst the reeds and shadows, they found him. Henry Moiti, haggard and reeking of alcohol, offered no resistance as the handcuffs clicked shut around his wrists. The city could finally breathe a collective sigh of relief. The monster was caught. The trial of Henry Moiti was a media sensation. The courtroom was packed, the public eager to catch a glimpse of the man who had committed such unspeakable acts. The prosecution presented a damning case, detailing the gruesome nature of the murders and Henry's history of jealousy and violence. Henry, despite his initial denials, eventually confessed to the crimes. He claimed that he had acted in a fit of passion, driven to madness by Teresa's infidelity and the women's plans to leave him. The jury, however, remained unconvinced. After a swift deliberation, they returned a guilty verdict. Henry Moiti was sentenced to life imprisonment at the Louisiana State Penitentiary, known as Angola, one of the most notorious prisons in the South. He would spend the rest of his days behind bars, haunted by the memory of his crimes and the faces of the women he had brutally slain. Justice, though it could not bring back the dead, had been served. The 1920s were a time of great change for New Orleans' French Quarter. Once an enclave of wealthy Creole families, the neighborhood was undergoing a demographic shift. The old guard was moving uptown, leaving behind their grand mansions, and a void quickly filled by immigrant families seeking a foothold in the new world. The influx of newcomers brought with it a vibrant mix of cultures, but also tensions and social unrest. The once grand homes were subdivided into cramped apartments, housing families struggling to make ends meet. Crime, poverty and vice took root, casting a shadow over the quarter's legendary charm. The Moiti murders, with their shocking brutality and scandalous details, exposed the darker side of this changing landscape. They served as a grim reminder that beneath the quarter's festive facade, darkness and despair lurked in the shadows. In the aftermath of the murders, rumours began to circulate throughout the French Quarter. Whispers of strange occurrences at 715 Ursulines Street, unexplained noises, cold spots, the scent of cheap perfume lingering in the air. The house, once a symbol of tragedy, was now considered cursed, haunted by the restless spirits of Teresa and Lonnie Moiti. One particular legend took root, fueled by the gruesome nature of the murders and the city's penchant for the macabre, the sausage ghost. It was said that Henry Moiti, in his crazed frenzy, had disposed of the women's remains not in trunks but in sausage casings, tossing them into the Mississippi River. While no evidence supports this gruesome tale, it became a part of the lore surrounding the murders, a chilling reminder of the brutality that had transpired within those walls. The sausage ghost, a figment of a city's darkest imaginings, served as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the evil that lurked beneath the surface of even the most vibrant and enchanting city. The passage of time has a way of softening the sharp edges of tragedy, of transforming real-life horrors into sensationalized stories. The New Orleans trunk murders, once a source of shock and revulsion, have become a macabre footnote in the city's history. A tale whispered in hushed tones on ghost tours and in darkened bars. It is important, however, to remember that behind the legend, behind the whispers and speculation, lie the real victims of this horrific crime. Teresa and Lonnie Moiti. Two women full of life and dreams, brutally slain by a man consumed by jealousy and rage. Their stories, like the stories of countless other victims of domestic violence, serve as a stark reminder of the importance of recognizing and addressing the signs of abuse before it's too late. Let us remember them not for the gruesome manner of their deaths, but for the lives they lived, the loves they shared, and the dreams they held for a brighter future. May their memories serve as a call to action, a reminder that we must all be vigilant in the fight against domestic violence and work towards a world where such tragedies are relegated to the history books, not repeated in our own time.